So this book, Understanding the Sicilian, is made by model games played by the author, Golubev, the Grandmaster. I believe it's really interesting because you see, we all want to learn an opening by rote memorization of the variants, but here maybe it helps us more to do this way, following the games by this Grandmaster, because we will become familiar with all the possible maneuvers, strategic ideas that happen in the Sicilian, and then we will find more easily the move that we need to find over the board. So the book is made by something like 120 games played by Golubev, sometimes with white, sometimes with black. I will start with game number 1, which I find very interesting because Grandmaster Williams, e4, c5, b4, if I remember well, Grandmaster Williams said that he got his final Grandmaster norm thanks to this kind of move, because it is not much played, and it was clearly a surprise to the opponent, and surprises sometimes they work. So this is game number 1, played between Haub and Golubev, German Team Cup in 1993. So an old game, right? And so here Golubev says, white's immediate sacrificial option led to play of a type quite unlike most line of the Sicilian. This one is called the wing gambit. In my view, the Morra gambit is this one, d4, c takes d4, and c3, has stronger grounds for claiming to be correct. But again, I don't think, especially for us tournament players at club level, that maybe it's 1900, 2000, I honestly don't think an opening must be correct. I think sometimes the effect of a surprise can throw us off. We don't play the right moves and we lose the game. So that's why we should learn also strange lines, okay? However, Golubev says, a stronger grounds for claiming to be correct, but it has the practical drawback that black can easily transpose to one of the main variations of a relatively calm alloping system. By 3, knight f6, boom. e5, knight d5. The cautious option, d3, when it's played this, you play this, leads to somewhat worse play for black, but may also be an effective psychological weapon against Morra gambit enthusiasts. Accepting the sacrifice. So we see that Golubev is covering, however, all the lines to give us a repertoire, also if he's not giving us a repertoire, but is really teaching the Sicilian, okay? So accepting the sacrifice by d takes c3, knight takes c3, is certainly a critical way to meet the gambit, but black must be aware that it's not the kind of system that it can be played if you are unprepared. White is quite active, objectively, has about sufficient compensation for a pawn, and is not so rare to see a strong grandmaster losing here to a significantly lower rated opponent. Let's look at one such encounter. This is interesting, yeah, let's look at... but I think there are some ways to neutralize Smith-Morra, because by now it has been played so much that everyone who plays the Sicilian must have a line against the Smith-Morra. So let's see what happened, okay? Knight c6, knight f3, e6, bishop c4, a6, and here it seems that black can set a trap by playing queen c7.
but I don't understand, because it says knight f6, but knight f6 has already been played, so I don't know. Maybe I need to return back a little, because probably we went a little forward. So let's see. Let's go back. Okay. Which make us only stronger, right? So e4, c5, d4, c takes d4, c3, tac, tac. And now let's see what he says. So I'm sorry for the mistake. Knight c6, knight f3, e6, bishop c4, and now let's see the possible trap, okay? Queen c7, castle, knight f6, and after queen e2 there is knight g4, and black tends to win by knight d4. So let's see what's going on. For white is certainly not forced to fall into it, and has some decent option. Okay, so how is black winning if he plays d4? I think, I don't know, isn't this that line, I don't know if it's called Archangelsk or something, Lenin, I don't remember. I remember that there is a line that has this kind of attack in the Smith-Morra, but in fact is dangerous for white, because if you take, there is this, and here there is a problem, obviously. Yeah, but I think, yeah, you can avoid all of this. If you are obviously a player of the Smith-Morra, you need to study, right? So let's go a little back and see what was the game, because it seems it was played between Lauritsen and Nihua in Montpellier in 2014. So let's see, okay. I think sometimes to follow all this line it's a little difficult over the chessboard, but it's also teaching us something, right? So let's go back and see. So e4, c5, d4, tac, 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 and now knight c3, knight c6, sorry, knight f3, e6, e6, and what happens? Bishop c4, a6, and now after a6 there is castle, knight g e7, and of course here there are a lot of other continuation, bishop g5, f6, bishop e3, knight g6, and here it was quoting Lauritsen Nihua with b5, but I'm trying to follow the game that he said that he would give an entire game to see what happens, okay? So f6, yeah, ta, ta, ta. Bishop b3, b5, knight d5. Wow, this knight sacrifice has given white excellent results in practice. E takes d5, e takes d5, knight c e5, d6, bishop b7, knight takes e5, f takes e5, f4, and now there are two possibilities, it seems, A and B. In B it was played by Van Veli, Esserman versus Van Veli in the US Open 2011, and Van Veli lost. But the line A, it's a little different, because it's not gonna win. And why it's not gonna win? Because it's correspondence game. So correspondence game means that they were using a computer. E takes e4, rook e1, f takes e3, rook takes e3, bishop e7, queen d4, and queen c8. Is correct as in Castillo, Stepanov 2007 and other correspondence games. Accordingly to my analysis, black miraculously escaped in the further complicated lines if he plays correctly. How? And here we see the thing that goes into a draw. Rook takes e7, knight takes e7, queen e3, queen d8, rook e1, and now there is a very strange move, a5, clearly found by a computer, queen c5, queen b8, bishop f7, check, king takes f7, rook takes e7, king g6, queen c2, check, king h6, h4, queen g8, queen d2, check, g5, rook e5, queen g6, and rook takes g5, and here it says equal, and then it says it's just an example. Okay, I honestly don't know why it's equal. Maybe he should have shown us the entire game. Maybe this line is calculated by a computer, so I don't know, honestly. I don't have any idea. Yes, there is probably the fact that also when he gets the queen, the two rooks, if they stay together, probably they are enough for a human player. But again, which human player? A grandmaster or a club player? So we have seen a line of a Smith-Morra, and this has shown you to which depth he went in each of the games. Now I will just show you the Golubev game, because with this thing we went just 12 minutes. So, and I will pause the video to bring the position back to the beginning. Okay, so it was e4, c5, b4. And here he says, on the contrary, the wing gambit has never worried me too much as a Sicilian player. It's rarely used by white. Black can try many different things after accepting the sacrifice, and I knew that I will normally get, if not a superior, then a playable position at least. The problem of this reasoning is that we have seen lately some crazy stuff made by computers, okay, because obviously it's made by computers. Stuff like this, that nobody would ever play, and yet it was played, because in Blitz and with some computer training, one can manage to make a crazy line appear playable, let's say. And I think Grandmaster Williams did the same, probably. He used the computer to find some lines that would justify this crazy gambit, right? So c takes b4, e3, d5. This is a popular choice, but not necessarily the most promising. Black has other sensible options, including the capture on a3. The 2014 Euromaidan internet game between Lviv and Odessa, where I played on black team, continued with e6. Okay, and here it gives a line. So I think for those who have probably chess base, they can check all Golubev games played with the Sicilian, and surely they will find also the wing gambit. Okay, now let's move on, because I don't want the video to become more than 15 gigabyte and impossible to see. So e takes d5, queen takes d5, Now white cannot take on b4 because of a check on e5. So if he takes here, check here, and boom, one of the two is going to pay the bill, right? So he has to play knight f3 to control e5, and then he can take, right? But as black, you don't care, or in general, you don't care because you want to develop your pieces, right? You don't care really to just take pawns in the beginning, also if you can. You take them if they develop your pieces, and that is an advantage, you know? c3, bishop d6, and he also spoke about the retreat here, okay? So in the book he covers most of the bases. Knight a3, and here there is a diagram. This position was little known at the time when the game was played. I must admit that white is very close to having enough for the pawn. Knight e7, and here he says, I wish to neutralize the bishop a3 idea that prevents black from completing his development in simple fashion after knight f6. He speaks about this move. But interestingly, there is also a game played by Bronstein with a wing gambit that is mentioned here. Interesting, in 1995. So 2 years later after this one. Okay, and it was played against a computer, so we can also watch that game. Knight e7, bishop c4, queen e4, bishop e2, and knight b c6. Knight b5, and it seems that later the same opponent, Aub, played also knight c4, so he tried an improvement, okay? Knight b5, bishop b8, and here there is rook a4. And it says the black queen cannot stay on e4 for long in any case, so it's more logical for white to push his d pawn without attacking the queen fourth. So he says that probably would have been better to castle, and d4, okay, instead of rook a4. Queen g6, d4, he takes d4. It seems this wasn't so good. Probably it was better to play e4 instead, okay? C takes d4, and it's not obvious, but after the less aggressive capture with a knight, it's not easy for black to prove any tangible advantage. So he thinks that this would have been better. No, not with f, but with the b. Okay, interesting, but he still has to castle there. Okay, I don't know. Let's see. C takes d4, castle, d5. And it seems that castling now was a mistake because he would have played knight d5, and this would have favored black. So knight e5, there was also the alternative rook d8 that is analyzing in the book. So knight e5, interesting move. Castle, knight takes f3, bishop takes f3, bishop d7, and d6. Now it's interesting, this position, for a reason. The fact that black has this kind of side that is kind of little blocked. So I don't know, but it's interesting to see how it went down. So he played knight c8, which seems is the wrong choice. It would have been better bishop take d6. Let's see what happened, because I'm curious, what does it mean, bishop take d6? And he plays rook d4. It doesn't take immediately. Bishop take h2, king takes h2, bishop takes b5, and rook e1. The activity of white pieces is somewhat frightening, but it does not compensate for free pawns, and only black has winning chances. So he says that probably the advantage of free pawns, 1, 2, 3 for example, and these two that are pass, is not enough for white. Okay, if he says so. Let's go back to the position, okay? Okay, so white just played d6 and black played knight c8, that Golubev says it's a dubious move, it's not the best one, okay? It seems that at this point, and maybe it was by the computer, rook a5 was the best move, but white played bishop e4, okay? Queen f6, bishop takes h7. Honestly, I understand white probably is going to lose, but is really playing strong chess, so it's bad that in the end is not getting rewarded for making all this effort, right? Queen h5, king g8, rook h4, queen takes h4. He thought he was going to give checkmate. Oh, this is funny. Sorry. Queen takes h4. Obviously queen takes h4 and bishop takes b5. Okay, and now there is a mistake. Bishop b2. The imperfect but sensible play of both sides has resulted in a position where white really had to find a very difficult move. Wow! So if you were white, pause the video and try to find the right move, because it seems at this point white has a way to draw the game. You need to draw because this game clearly, with all this stuff going on, is a loss. But there is a way to draw. And it seems the move was bishop h6 with an unavoidable draw, because black cannot prevent the perpetual check once he takes here on h6, okay? So instead he played bishop b2 and f6, and now the d6 pawn is doomed and black will get too much for the queen, okay? So let's see. Queen e4, knight takes d6, queen e6, knight f7, rook b1, bishop c6, queen g4, bishop e5, obviously he was attacking here, bishop c1, a5, h4, a4, h5, a3, h6, knight takes h6, bishop take h6, but now there is rook f7, and it seems at this point white resigned. Clearly a very interesting game, very hard fought, and I'm sorry for white that he lost so badly, but unfortunately it happens in chess, right? This kind of gambits, they are not always correct, and you need to really play a kind of chess that maybe only computer can, because sometimes as chess player we get tired. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this presentation of this book. Again, understanding the Sicilian, there are 120 games played by Golubev and explained in detail. Clearly, it's the book to learn from if you are really serious to play the Sicilian.